Hello there, welcome to Critical Reviews. Today I'm taking a look at Alien Romulus. The Alien franchise has had a rough ride, from the masterpiece of sci-fi horror that was Alien, to the formula-breaking brilliance of Aliens, and yes, indeed, even the stripped-back British grimness of the Alien Free Assembly Cut. I consider it to be a solid trilogy. Of course, after that, I would be less kind, and Ridley Scott and his last two android fetish films pretty much buried the franchise. Everything went quiet. Therefore it was with great consternation that I saw his name and production company at the start of the film as a producer. I feared the worst. Sadly, my fears were justified. Anyway, before I get stuck in, your spoiler-free plot summary. Our main character, Rain, is on a colony called Jackson's World, looking to make enough money and earn enough credit to get to a planet where she can see the sun, as Jackson's World is still in the terraforming process, and about as dark and miserable and welcoming as Birmingham. When the company suddenly changes the quota needed to leave her assignment, meaning she'll be indentured for another 6 years, she and some friends hatch a plan to head to a newly appeared derelict Weyland-Yutani vessel where they can steal enough cryopods to sustain stasis sleep to the nearest nice colony 9 years away. Once there, they encounter the extraterrestrial terror once again, and are soon trapped in a fight for survival with uncertain allies and rapidly diminishing chances of survival in a race against time. Let's start off with the good, which is plentiful. The film looks absolutely sensational. Fede Alvarez's direction is awesome, with some excellent camera angles, and there is a lot of attention paid to making the film look authentic and true to the Aliens universe. There are no liberties taken, no bold new design choices. You could not be watching anything other than an Alien film, and it really does feel like it's set in between the first two instalments. It's very impressive. Also of note are the plethora of physical effects, adding a welcome weight to the film. It makes a change from the bombardment of green screen and CGI that we are exposed to these days. The pacing of the film is fine, for the most part, and there is a genuine sense of tension and horror that has not been properly present in the series for some time now. You would not expect anything less from the director of the Evil Dead remake and Don't Breathe. The film is claustrophobic and suspenseful and structurally sound. Speaking of sound, I was impressed by the score, particularly in the first act, in an amazing sequence where the plucky crew heads spaceward. It was 2001-esque in places. Now I'll be checking it out separately, for sure. The sound design creates an ambience of palpable yet latent horror in certain scenes, and audio-visually this is expertly crafted and up there with the best in the series. That's production values, design, cinematography, pace, directing, all with top marks. What about the characters and the acting? After all, that is where my concerns with the film originally lay. The trailers looking very much like Gen Z versus Aliens, with me rooting for the aliens. The star of the film, Rain, is played well by Kaylee Spaney, doing much better than her character in Civil War. Her brother, Andy, is a malfunctioning synthetic, brilliantly portrayed by David Johnson, who is the real star of this film. One problem that I did have is that his degradation of functionality came off in a very human way, which seems intentional. Put simply, he comes off as mentally disabled or slow, rather than a malfunctioning android. Some little tics or mechanical jerks might have helped allay that impression. Still, Johnson does an amazing job of conveying quite an array of aspects to his character. His and Rain's relationship is the heart of this movie. Most of the rest of the characters are secondary and a mixed bag. You have the over-the-top British arsehole, the shrinking Violet, the good guy, who is also British, so I guess it balances out, and they're treated well by the script in terms of longevity, despite doing some really stupid things. They are not the disposable alien fodder that I thought they would be. I wouldn't say that they're particularly likeable, nor do we get much development on them, which was what led me to believe that they would be more like red shirts, but they do an okay job, and their acting is what they need to do, no more, and it's not the actor's fault that the script makes them morons. There is another character, Science Officer Rook, which is well acted but subject to some unfortunate CGI. He is critical to the plot, but I can't really say any more without spoilers. So that's that. Now, this is what really doesn't work about Alien Romulus. The film is not content to just have Easter eggs and references. There are lines and entire scenes that are taken verbatim from previous films, and Romulus comes across very much like an Alien's greatest hits, with few ideas of its own. New ideas that it does present are very much hit and miss. Some will have you on the edge of your seat, and some will have you sighing out loud. It's not member berries, this is member boulders, smashing you in the face, over and over and over. In equal measures, I was entertained and nonplussed. There are some pretty big plot holes, which I cannot detail here for spoilers, but they are all glossed over and not addressed. It's a case of don't think about it, consume product, and most of all, pay attention to those jangling keys that are right in your face. And you remember I said it was the greatest hits? Sadly, the greatest hits includes the bad films. This film rips parts straight from Alien Resurrection and the dumpster fires that were Prometheus and Covenant, including plot elements from both in order to tie it into the greater narrative and lore. And while it does that reasonably well to make for a cohesive timeline, I mean, this is by no means the franchise destroyer that The Predator was. I detest that it happens at all. Put bluntly, this has Ridley Scott's stink all over it, and he ruins Fede Alvarez's movie. The writing is most certainly the weak point in this movie, with both more character and script development needed. The potential was here. There are fantastic visuals and directing, an evocative sci-fi score, and a great character dynamic and concept with Andy and Rain. The film has no messaging. Guys are guys, girls are girls. They just aren't given enough to work with. There are some modern Hollywood writing conceits that prove the film's downfall, as things happen at very convenient times, and security cameras show exactly what they need to, all the time, every time. The film needed a script doctor. Better characters and a refined script would go a long way in improving this, and I would welcome a Fede Alvarez cut where he mends a lot of the issues I have with the film. I'd particularly be interested in an unrated cut, especially if he cut off the last 15 minutes, which I very much disliked. In particular, the last line from the film earned a vehement middle finger and "fuck off film" from me. One last thing is that for an Alien film, the xenomorphs don't really do a great deal. Maybe we've been spoiled by Aliens, but this film doesn't have the slow, brooding nature of the original, and teases more than it follows through on its promises of xeno action. It's a middle ground that might frustrate some. Final thoughts. Alien Romulus is a film that is scared to stand on its own 2 feet and is heavily compromised by outside influences and nostalgia baiting. People are saying that this film is the best entry since Aliens, and the truth is, it could have been. Fede Alvarez does some great work here, but there are just too many on-the-nose callbacks and ripping off of other Alien films for it to be the lean, stripped-down horror that he could deliver. Ridley Scott's influence is an unwelcome aspect that I feel greatly diminishes the film, and this feels like a compromised successor to Covenant and Prometheus rather than its own thing. Some character motivations are bizarre, to say the least, and in general, the human cast is underdeveloped. I would say that this is worth watching on the big screen, as some of the shots are superb, and there are some sequences that recall the very best elements of sci-fi horror, but the script doesn't have enough original ideas, and overall you are left with Alien's greatest hits, but it includes those crappy B-sides that no one liked. The film enraged me at times, enthralled me at others, but mainly, it just frustrated me. It is an imperfect organism. Thanks for watching. I've been Critic. Please like, share and subscribe, and I'll be back with another film review soon.